Welcome, everyone in the United States, Canada, and around the world to another powerful episode of It's a Wrap with Rap, the podcast that shares real stories of hope, resilience, and purpose in a discussion of relevant topics. I am your host, Ron Rapaport. Now, today I have as my guest Barbara Grassey, author of American Expat, Moving Abroad Solo After 60, a candid and empowering guide for individuals who are considering a bold reinvention in their mature years. Drawing from her own personal journey of relocating permanently to Portugal, all on her own, Barbara challenges the notion that adventure, independence, and transformation have an expiration date. Her writing speaks directly to mature adults who feel the call to explore the world, embrace new cultures, and reclaim their sense of purpose beyond traditional retirement. Through honesty, humor, and practical insight, Barbara inspires readers to overcome fear, navigate uncertainty, and confidently step into a new chapter abroad on their own terms. Welcome from Algarve, Portugal, Barbara, to the podcast. A pleasure to have you with us.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me on. It's a wrap. I'm really looking forward to this.
Okay,
I
great.
love the idea that you are themed with reinvention and inspiration and getting people moving.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what the podcast is all about. Now, tell us a little bit about yourself and tell us what inspired you, or what was the moment you knew you wanted to move, and live abroad permanently, and why to Portugal?
Okay. Wow, that's good. We'll unpack it one by one. I'm originally from outside of Boston, a small town called Natick, which is no longer a small town. It's I grew up there. I spent the first 18 years of my life there, and in 1978 there was this huge blizzard that came across that part of the country, and we were snowed in for days, and I just looked around and said, "This was really not what I want." And so my entire adult life has been spent trying to find warmer and warmer places, uh, which is really
Sure.
shallow, I know,
Yeah.
but it was cold, and every year I got a warmer jacket, and every year I was still cold. So when I was young, and probably the moment I decided to move to not to Portugal, but to Europe, I read the book Kidnapped by Robert Louis Stevenson. I was probably like 10 years old, and it told the tale of hiking along, through the Highlands, and I just thought, "Wow, hiking the Highlands, I wanna live in Scotland." I thought, "Wow, Scotland, that's gotta be the place." And, as I got older, the whole idea of men in kilts was very attractive too. So, I went to Scotland with my mom in 2001, and I found out that Scotland is very cold.
Yeah.
It
And
is
not warm.
very, very cold. So, I still wanted to move to Europe, and I decided I would look in Southern Europe. The first place I looked was Italy because my father's parents were from Italy, and I thought, "Okay, maybe I can get citizenship there." And it's really a difficult process with Italy, and they were changing the rules at the time. I did not know that countries change the rules all the time. I was sitting there saying, "Wow, Italy keeps changing their rules," not knowing that everybody keeps changing their rules. So a friend of mine who is a digital nomad said, "Take a look at Portugal. She said, it's warm. A lot of digital nomads go through there. It's just take a look." So she turned me on to a lady with a YouTube channel who happened the episode I found was on getting a D7 visa, which is it's called the retirement visa or the passive income visa. And I looked at it, and you know how things kind of align when you're supposed to finally do something?
Yeah.
Yeah. So right around then, it was 2020. The world was shutting down due to COVID. My business was pretty barren. My landlords decided to sell their condo, and I'd been there for 10 years, and my housemate was moving to California, so I was losing my housemate, I was losing my condo, and I thought, "This is a really good time to get the heck out of Dodge." So, I started looking into getting the visa, and about 6 months later, I was here in Portugal.
Now, when you say it's warm there, I've been there. I think we talked a little bit about that before we went
Yeah.
on air. What's it like in the winter there? How chilly
It's
is it?
colder than I like, but it's not cold to anybody who knows cold weather. Right now, it's 55 degrees Fahrenheit. Please don't ask me to do Celsius. I've been here for 5 years and I haven't made the transition. Centimeters kinda kill me too. Um, but it's not horribly cold. It goes down into the 40s at night, usually 50s and 60s in the day. Porto, that you like so much, gets a lot more rain
Yeah.
than we do. But winter is our rainy season, so we get some rain, you get the cold, rainy days. But if the sun comes out, you will sweat. It doesn't matter what the air temperature is, the sun is so hot here, it's amazing. So I can walk out in, 50-degree weather in shorts and a t-shirt and take my walk, and as long as the sun is shining, I'm warm enough. And I am a total wuss when it comes to cold. I could not believe that I was going out in shirt sleeves in the 50s, you know?
Well, it's interesting because I'm here in Florida, and when
Mhm.
I was in Portugal, we went to the beach. I think it might have been in Porto, and we looked across the Atlantic, and it was
Uh-huh,
almost longitudinally straight to Florida.
uh-huh.
So and what you're describing is that weather is pretty much what it's like here. I mean,
That's not bad then.
it can be in the 50s, but if the
Mhm.
sun's out, you're fine.
You're
If the
fine.
sun's not out, it's a different story because, you get the ocean breezes and
Oh, yeah. Did you put a toe in the water there?
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's
Was it
beautiful.
cold?
Uh, well, it was summertime and it was hot.
It was hot, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was hot. Now, why is Portugal one of the top destinations Americans wanna relocate to? Any idea?
Ah. Well, for years, Portugal has been sold as a very cheap place to retire. So I think, first of all, people think they're going to get a lot of bang for their retirement buck. Portugal is not as inexpensive as it once was, but it still has a lower cost of living than the United States. So your retirement dollars do go further. But for most people, it's the idea of being in a very safe country. We rank, depending on the year, anywhere from like 4 to 7th safest country in the world. Gun laws are very strict. There aren't a whole lot of guns. The only people carrying guns would be police and judges. But you can't tell because they have robes.
Yeah,
So, really, most of the people who have guns here are people who are going to hunt their own food. So it's more long rifles than anything. Very safe, very little crime. The crime that happens is usually things like pickpocketing, car break-ins. If you leave something of value on the seat of your car, they might break a window and grab it,
yeah,
that sort of thing. We don't have heavy duty crime here. And for me, it was having a good health system. Coming over here, you and especially when you're older, you want
yeah,
to make sure there are good hospitals and good doctors and things like that.
right.
So when I got here, I knew they had a really good health system, and I ended up getting private insurance, which I recommend to anybody moving over because they do have national health, but the system is a little bit overwhelmed. And if you haven't been paying into it, you really, shouldn't take horrible advantage of it. So they have the private health system, and I found, great clinic, great doctors. Most of them speak English. I think if something major was to happen, there's hospitals, better hospitals, like about 45 minutes away. We have one of the best cardiology hospitals in Faro, so it's about a 40-minute drive. And what I like about this is they have a public-private initiative, which is if you get something that's really expensive and you're on private health care, and say you get cancer, and, cancer care in the United States will wipe you out. But here, they'll cover up to whatever amount you're insured for under your private plan. And then when you hit that, the government takes over and you go to the national health system. So they work together and it's a pretty good system.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm a two-time male breast cancer survivor, so the It's a Wrap with Rap podcast, the podcast of hope, resilience, purpose, and the pursuit of wellness, has the privilege to educate our audience about TeleWellness MD, a physician-led telehealth platform connecting eligible patients with licensed providers for prescription-based wellness therapies that practices education first and oversight always. TeleWellness MD is not a supplement company, not a replacement for primary care, and does not ship without provider approval. All treatments require medical review. TeleWellness MD works as follows. An account is created for you. A consult with a physician occurs. An order for therapy ensues when prescribed, and you now start your wellness journey. Ongoing support is included. There are no additional fees required. Telewellness MD focuses on metabolic health, recovery, energy, hormonal balance, sexual wellness, healthy aging, cognitive clarity, and immune support, all under licensed medical supervision. What is included with Telewellness MD is one price and complete care. Included are a provider review and prescription by a licensed medical provider, prescriptions prepared by state-regulated U.S.-based compounding pharmacies, all the required supplies when applicable, the listed vial size and concentration, fast, discreet shipping directly to your door, and ongoing support, which includes access to the Telewellness MD live U.S.-based support team. No memberships, no add-on fees, and no surprises. Are you curious? Learn more and connect with a licensed provider to determine whether treatment may be appropriate for you. Please use the link provided to access the website and receive a 25% podcast discount on your first order.
Oh,
Yeah, I can definitely attest to what you're
you,
saying.
you know how high the cost is,
Yeah.
even with insurance.
What fears or doubts did you personally struggle with before making the move?
Ooh, gosh. I think one of them, it was the fear that I wouldn't like it. And what I told myself was, if you really don't like it, you can always go back. So I didn't really have a whole lot of fear. I knew that I could unwind it if I needed to.
Yeah.
But it was that idea of, okay, you're walking into a place where you don't know the language, you've never been there, you don't know anybody there, and it's kind of a big jump to make. It's, you have to take a big gulp and go. But I also knew I could unwind it. I've moved a lot of different places in my life. I moved down to Georgia, to Florida, to California, to Hawaii, and back again. So I knew I could make a move and I knew I could set up a new life. I already had that experience. And if you've moved, from the north to the south, from the east to the west, you can build a new life. So that wasn't really frightening, but I just was like, ooh, that's a long way back to the United States.
Right. But you always knew you could hop back on a plane and what,
Yeah, if
5,
worse came
6,
to worse.
8
Yeah.
hours, you'll be home. Yeah. What was the hardest part of moving away for you of moving away for you?
Getting rid of stuff.
Yeah, I can
I had
imagine.
I'd been oh my gosh, I'd been in my condo for 10 years, but I'd been carting things around for, 30, 40 years from university. So, when I moved south, I took things from up north, and when I moved up to California, I had all these boxes, and when I moved to Hawaii, it went out, like, in a cargo container ship, and then I moved it all back. Like, that was so stupid. You have these things that you just glom onto because you think they're worth something or they're sentimental, and I really had to get tough with myself to get rid of all the detritus that I'd been carrying with me for 40 years, and things like my university, complete Shakespeare volume. That's a really heavy book, and when you're paying freight, that weight counts.
Yeah.
So, it was hard to clear out everything, and I still have stuff in a storage space 5 years later that I need to clear out, so I need to go back and grab it, and I know that by the time I'm done clearing out that space, I will have 2 suitcases of stuff. Realize that you don't need all that stuff you've been carting around. The pictures, you can scan and put on a thumb drive. Paperwork, you can scan and put on a thumb drive. Some things are sentimental, you don't want to lose them, and that can pack up, but most of the stuff you carry around is either replaceable. I see people that move here and they wanna bring all their small appliances. Well, we have a different electrical system. It's not
Right.
your stuff isn't gonna plug in right. And what happens too is you can have a converter type thing for your electrical appliances, but they'll burn out faster because of the difference in systems. So there's a lot of things that people bring with them that they don't need, and they only find that out, a couple of years in.
Well, they say that in life, you probably only used, what, 20% of the things you have?
Exactly.
The other
Yeah.
80% just, around.
It's
You just
hanging in
don't
the
wanna get
closet.
rid of it.
Oh, and I only came with 2 suitcases, and I still have things that just hang in the closet. So,
Wow. Now when
yeah,
we travel, we usually have, like, 4 suitcases, so I don't know how you did that, but that's
you
pretty
could
good.
stay.
Yeah. How did your family and friends react to your decision to relocate internationally on your own?
They were they were kind of taken aback. They're always concerned, right? Because
Yeah.
they're like, "Well that's a pretty that's exciting, but that's a pretty big step." Like, they don't wanna what do they say? Yuck your yum? But they were kind of concerned about whether or not I would make it because, I'm always kind of lighthearted and a little bit goofy, and my sister came over this past year, and we're walking down the street, and it's a small village. I know people, and I know my way around, of course. I've been here for almost 5 years, and my sister kept walking down. She said, "You've got a whole life here." I'm like, "Yeah, I can actually build a life." I don't think I don't think they actually saw me as somebody that could do that, but I've done that, 3, 4, 5 times in my life. So it was just I knew it, but they didn't know that about me.
What did you think about the vibe? Like, you said you were walking down the street and people were saying hello, and I mean, I know you're from the Boston area,
Right?
it's a lot different there. Well, what did she think about that?
She kept saying, "Brigadoon, you found Brigadoon." And I said, "Shh, I'm supposed to say Brigadoon." Yeah, she kind of thought of it as a little fairy tale village. You get here and you just see the surface, and of course we've got the water and the island and the palm trees, and the fishing boats are very have you ever seen Doc Martin, the BBC series? There's the
No.
fishing there when the tide goes out, there's boats, like, up on the mud, but,
Uh,
the working fishing boats are at the dock, but there's, like, all these scattered small craft. When the tide goes out, they're just sitting on the mud flats, then the tide comes in, and they're all floating again. But it's very it looks quaint, and it's quaint as hell.
right,
And she
yeah,
was just really enamored of it, and, there are aspects of the life where you know that the people are getting priced out of their homes, or you know that the Romanian lady down the street is trying to feed 3 kids. So she doesn't see that as a visitor. When you live here, you start learning people's lives.
yeah,
But, on the surface, though, she was just enamored, and she
yeah.
kept saying, "The men are so handsome here." I'm like, "Yeah, they kinda grow them that way. They're just all handsome." The women are beautiful, the men are handsome. What can I tell you?
Yeah. Barbara, what role do finances play in planning a relocation, and what advice do you offer regarding, budgeting for people?
Oh, okay. This is a huge thing because, as I said, Portugal is not cheap, cheap, cheap anymore, especially in Lisbon and Porto. Those are the big cities, and those are the places where most of the expats kind of glom to, or they go right outside the city. So, one of the th when you apply for your visa, you have to show that you have passive income equal actually greater than their base income, the, minimum wage. Now, minimum wage here is about €900 a month. So, most of the time, it shouldn't be too hard to show that you're making more than €900 a month on your passive income. But that's to me, that's a little bit of it's a little bit misleading because you need a whole lot more than minimum wage to live here.
Sure.
I am cheap to keep. I probably spend a couple $1,000s a month. I have my apartment that I got in 2021 when COVID was still in full bloom and things were going cheaply. So I have, a nice two-bedroom apartment with a water view for €800 a month, but you can't get that anymore. If I had to go find another apartment like this, I'd be paying 12 or 13 or $1,400 a month, or euro really. So you have to figure in not just your passive income, but you have to figure in things like rents are gonna rise. Taxes are really low for houses. If you buy your own house, the taxes people are like, "Yeah, I had to pay my taxes." It's like under $500. It's amazingly, low.
Are you
Um
allowed as an expat to buy a house?
Oh, sure. Yeah, they love that.
Okay.
Yeah. But unfortunately, what happens is people come in and they say, I've got this much money to spend on a house. And everybody selling their house like immediately raises their price to that person.
The podcast is so happy and proud to have Blue Sky CBD as one of our sponsors and supporters. At Blue Sky CBD, they know that the highest quality CBD starts from the seed. Blue Sky partners with sustainable, responsible farms for superior hemp plants to extract their CBD and other healthful phytonutrients. Each of Blue Sky's products contain high concentrations of CBD for maximum impact, and Blue Sky offers some of the lowest cost per milligram CBD on the market. All Blue Sky's products are THC free and are tested by a third party laboratory for potency and purity. All this has made Blue Sky one of the only CBD brands trusted by healthcare professionals across the United States. As the demand for CBD and its therapeutic potential have grown rapidly worldwide, it is difficult to know which products you can trust. At Blue Sky CBD, they just don't sell their products, they use their products. Blue Sky CBD proudly shares testimonials of their loved ones who use these products. Blue Sky CBD guarantees the potency and purity of each and every product they sell. Blue Sky tests their products 3 times. First, the plant is tested, next, the isolate, and last, the final product to ensure each product batch meets Blue Sky's high standards. A copy of the certificate of analysis is linked below each product description online. The Blue Sky CBD website contains client testimonials, including a case study for each testimonial from the people just like you regarding people dealing with severe anxiety and insomnia, high blood pressure, pain management, headache, rheumatoid arthritis and spondylitis, and endocrine balance. Blue Sky even makes the product Pet Love for our canine and feline family members. Blue Sky CBD uses CBD derived from hemp that is THC free, which is drug free and can be sold everywhere legally in the United States. Blue Sky CBD wants you to feel confident with your purchase and offers you excellent customer service. If you are not satisfied with their products, you may request a refund of the full purchase price within 30 days of the product received date. When ordering, please use the podcast link to receive 20% off your initial purchase. The link and website information will be listed in the podcast notes. Yeah,
like,
oh yeah.
like, yeah, don't tell your budget. You're going to spend more money the first year because you're setting up a household. You're going to be buying things. If your house doesn't have central air and heat, you're going to buy a portable air conditioner. You're going to buy, some space heaters. You might buy new pots and pans or new silverware, something like that, because you don't really need to bring that with you. Just about everything you think you need to bring with you, you can replace over here. But I will say one of the things you should factor in is the exchange rate, because the exchange rate fluctuates. When I got here, it was close to par. And since January 21st of last year, we have lost 10% of our buying power. So the dollar to euro went from, say, 94, 95 cents dollar to euro. It's now 84, 85, 86 cents.
Okay, because
So
your passive income is coming in as
in
American
US
dollars.
dollars. Right. So we've lost 10% of our buying power, which is not, it's not huge if you've got enough of a cushion.
Yeah,
But if you're transferring large amounts of money, you're feeling that bite, and people are a little bit resentful about it too.
can imagine. Now, we did cover healthcare
Yeah,
considerations. Let's talk
and
about,
healthcare is a lot cheaper to buy here than in the States.
yeah,
Just so my plan is about 250 a month, 250 euro, and it's the equivalent of a Blue Cross Blue Shield Silver plan. So I pay a little copay, 20 euro, 30 euro,
yeah,
but there's no deductible here, which I really like.
wow.
And there's no such thing. Oh, I won't say that. There are pre-existing conditions. Usually you've got a year's wait for that to be taken care of. If you've
Well,
had
250 is not bad for a single.
oh, it's Yeah, because if I was paying for Medicare B, I'd be paying close to 200 anyway.
Oh, yeah. Now you've written about the importance of making friends as an expat.
Mhm.
What advice can you give newcomers struggling to build a social circle? Is it hard to make friends? Who will they make friends with? How does that generally go?
It's funny because I meet people who come and they want to immediately replace their friend circle, and it's going to take time. I just read an article that said American female expats over 60 are leaving because basically it's loneliness. They can't make that friend circle, but they're leaving within 18 months. And really, you're not even settled for the first year. You're still trying to find things at the grocery store. So you're not going to find that fast friend. What I recommend doing is you can start with some of the expat meetups, and there's expat meetups all over the place, luncheons and mixers and all that sort of thing. But you're only going to make acquaintances there. You might get really lucky and make a really good friend, but for the most part, it's going to be superficial. It's going to be acquaintances. And that's okay because that will get you through those first couple of years. But what happens is as you get more involved where you live, you start doing things that are really aligned with your personal interests. So if you're a runner, you might join a running club or a bicycle club. You might take quilting lessons at the local whatever senior center. Say, I met my best friends here. I take a walk every morning or just about every morning along the Ria, along the channel. And that's where I met most of my friends. And the real trick, you might want to write this one down. If you see somebody with a dog, pet their dog and say how beautiful their dog is. And it's the cutest darn dog you ever saw. Because it is. I mean, the dogs here are incredible. But if you love their dogs, honest to God, even if they don't speak the language, they know you love their dog. And that creates a bond almost immediately. But don't expect to make your deep friendships right away and be okay with that. You're going to make acquaintances. You're going to find people you can go to coffee with, but you won't make those. Friendship takes time.
Yeah,
It's not
yeah,
like when you're 5 and it's like, "Hey, can I go play at your house?" It's not
right.
like, you know. So it's a deeper thing that you get, and once you start building that friend circle, you understand how interdependent you are, and you look for the people that have staying power.
Would you say that the friends you're going to make down the road, are they gonna be expats or are they gonna be locals or is it gonna be a mixture?
I'm hoping it's going to be a mixture for me because I don't speak Portuguese yet. It's working on it. It's all of my closer friends are expats. They're English speaking.
Yeah,
And I go to exercise class twice a week. That's at least 50% Portuguese, local Portuguese. So I know a lot of the local Portuguese, but we're not friends yet because we really can't converse.
right.
And a lot of them will say, "Oh, my English isn't very good." Their English is pretty darn good.
Yeah,
But as I hesitate to speak Portuguese, they hesitate to speak English. You've got to think, you've got to kind of translate in your head and
yeah.
work it through. So it's hard for them to have that conversation, and most of them will go out of their way to speak English to you with whatever English they have because Portuguese by default are just nice. So a lot of times they're it's always like they pat me on the head when I try to speak Portuguese, but they know that I'm trying and I'm trying to learn, and
Yeah.
they're very, very patient. And yeah, sometimes I'll ask, "Is this the word?" And they'll say yes, or you pronounce it like this. So it's getting there. And one of the things I see, like in exercise class, is, you're doing things and we're all older ladies. So like you'll fall over and we all just start laughing. And it doesn't matter what language. We've got French, German, Portuguese, American, Scottish. Try to understand Scottish.
Oh, forget it. Yeah, I have several Scottish friends and boy, when they start talking, sometimes I gotta really listen hard.
It's really hard, yeah. But you
Yeah,
know
it
what? We
is.
we all laugh in the same language, so it all
Yeah.
works.
So what were the biggest cultural differences you had to adjust to after moving to Portugal?
One of the things I like, a cultural difference, is that you don't have the hustle and grind culture here where everybody's competitive and trying to get ahead, and if one person gets something, then nobody else gets it. It's not that, it's everybody gets a piece of the pie here. Nobody's really worried about it. So it's a more casual, actually, I won't even say casual. It's a better balance of life and work. They'll have their kids out to dinner 10 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, because the kids come with the family. It's all family here, which is great. So for me, the cultural difference is that they really appreciate family and their outside of work lives. And that I like a lot. One of the weird things I found out was they won't answer an email until they know the answer. So you'll send an email and you're like, why hasn't she written back? What the heck? They won't answer until they have the right answer for you, which is
Oh,
kind of,
okay.
yeah. I was concerned because it's a Catholic country. And as a lapsed Catholic, I'm always like, oh my God, I'm going to get lightning bolts sent to me. And as much as it's a Catholic country, nobody's in your face about religion.
That's
And
cool.
it's really nice. There are certain festivals and they carry the saints, on the thrones. And that's fun. You go into the north end of Boston for the St. Anthony Festival, whether you're a Catholic or not, it's a party. And so it's
Uh,
almost the same way here.
what practical advice would you give someone in their mature years who is considering a similar move?
I would say be okay with not knowing everything. As we get older, we get very used to controlling our lives. We know which grocery store we go to. We know the path to this. We know the path to that. We have we have total control of our lives. But when you move to a new country, you have no control whatsoever. And you have to be really okay with just going with the best information you have at the time. So you need to be flexible. You need to not think, and you live in Florida, so you probably hear this all the time. Well, up north, we did it this way, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And everybody in Florida says, yeah, well, you're not up north anymore. And it's the same thing over here, except they're more polite. So don't come over and think that they're backwards or they're doing things wrong. They do things the way they work here. And I learned that lesson early on in my career. And it was probably one of the better lessons I've learned and kept, which is when you first get to a new place and you wonder why the heck they would do something that way, keep your mouth shut because you're going to find out eventually why. And there's usually a good reason why they do things a certain way. So be
Right.
flexible, understand that everything's a navigation when you first get here. You don't know how the ATMs work. You're looking at stuff in the grocery store and you have no idea what you're looking at. I always use the example of baking soda because, you go to Walgreens, you get the boxes of Arm& and Hammer. Here, they're sold like in little McCormick packets. And it took me forever to find baking soda because I was looking for the wrong container. I mean, hot
Yeah.
dogs are in jars here. And don't get the hot dogs. No. We go over to Spain there's a supermarket chain called Mercadona, and they carry some, I think it's Oscar Mayer hot dogs. You can buy them
Uh,
over there. You can get just about everything here that you can get in the States. That's another funny thing is people are like, well, can you get potato chips? It's like, yeah, Lay's is all over the place. So
yeah.
yeah,
Obviously, they've never been to Europe.
it's really funny the questions people ask. You're like, yeah, it's a functioning, social democracy. There's electricity, there's Wi-Fi, there's new cars. You know,
Yeah,
I don't know what they expect.
people would be amazed when you go outside the United States and you go, you're thinking you're going to such and such a country and you land and the airports are beautiful, they're
Mhm.
magnificent. I mean, you go, wow.
And I think
Yeah,
the best smelling airport I've ever been in is Rome. The Rome airport because they have all the perfumeries, all the high-end perfumeries and no Subway sandwich. So you're not most airports in the US, you're smelling Subway sandwich throughout the airport. And
yeah,
in Rome, you smell really high-end perfume. It's nice.
yeah. You know what I like about the Rome airport, just to delve for a minute? They
Mhm.
have a piano there. I don't know
Yes,
if you kn and there's people that play the piano, and you get some really good people.
you do. I think
That that
Philadelphia has, of all places, has some sort of little area where they have entertainment too.
yeah,
It's very strange. I like it though.
yeah. What's my next question? Oh, yeah. Well, what were the biggest cultural differences you had to adjust to?
Biggest. Oh, gosh. Oh, one of the adjustments I did have to make was being a lot more polite and trying not to say the F bomb. Uh, not easy for me.
No
Um,
cursing over there, huh?
oh, well, they do, but, you don't wanna be that ugly American throwing the F bombs around, or if you're saying it, you kinda wanna say it
Yeah,
quietly.
yeah.
For me, it was just the overwhelm of honest to God, it was grocery stores. You walk into I already knew how to pack my own bags, I'd been to Aldi enough, but it was the overwhelm of not understanding the logic behind where they place certain things in grocery stores. So you've got this American logic of, okay, I'm going down the paper goods aisle and it's all paper goods. But you're in the paper goods aisle and there's some paper goods, maybe there's some toys, maybe there's this, and maybe there's hot dogs or whatever. And you're like, why would this all be like within the same space? It's not organized in the same way. And even when I was taking Portuguese classes, we were doing exercises.
It can be very difficult to get a face-to-face therapy appointment these days for those who need it. It can be expensive, difficult to squeeze a visit in your hectic schedule, not to mention how lonely and unsupported you can feel in between sessions and how you just seem to forget all the things your therapist told you since your last visit. No more. Therapy on your terms is now available through onlinetherapy.com. Your personal therapist will be by your side from start to finish, guiding you to a happier you through the sections, worksheets, unlimited messaging, and live sessions available as video, voice only, or text chat. You can do this from wherever you are in the world. Each section includes all the information and hands on tools that you need to identify, challenge, and overcome your problems. In each worksheet, you will answer questions and get valuable hands on tools and tips from your therapist on a daily basis. Each week, you will have access to a 45-minute live therapy session with your therapist via video, voice only, or text, providing a perfect opportunity to receive instant guidance and support. You can always send your therapist a message with any questions or thoughts. To start, choose your area of concern, including but not limited to anxiety, depression, OCD, PTSD, stress, anger management, couples therapy, family issues, panic attack, ADHD, chronic pain, eating disorders, abuse, and trauma, and get matched with your therapist. Choose the subscription plan that best suits your needs, starting at just $40 a week. OnlineTherapy.com has received an average rating of 4.8 out of 5 stars. Please click the link in the podcast notes or below this video ad for detailed information and to order and start your therapy journey today to become a happier you.
And I could translate the question, but I still didn't know what they were looking for. And it wasn't just me, it was everybody. So we're like, okay, we understand what they're asking, but we don't understand what they're asking because the logic behind it is different. And that's probably the biggest cultural shift you have to make is to just understand that you work on a certain logic and they work on a totally different logic. And both are valid. It's just whatever works for them here won't work for them in the States, but what works for us in the States just doesn't work here. That's
Yeah.
it's just a difference. And it's fun when you finally realize that you're thinking wrong or you're not thinking Portuguese.
Yeah, they just have different thought process.
It's just
What
a
was the
different thought
biggest
process.
what was the biggest challenge that you faced when relocating and how did you overcome it?
Oh, this sounds trite, but and when I moved, it was during COVID.
Right.
So the big challenge for me was not knowing if I would actually get into the country. I was terrified that I would have, given up my condo, packed everything up, bought the tickets, spent all this money because you have to have, at the time, it was 6 months worth of lodging. You had to have that secured. Now you need a 12-month lease, which is even more frightening. So getting the lodging done was actually easier for me during COVID because they allowed you to use Airbnbs. So I checked off 3 Airbnbs that I would be in for 2 months each, so I could kind of get a feel for where I was going. But the really big fear was when I hit Heathrow Airport and the agent said, "You can't go into Portugal. The borders are closed." And it was like I didn't know what I was gonna do. So, of
Right.
course, I just BS'd my way in. Uh, I didn't have a clipboard, but if I'd had a clipboard, that would've, been speeding up the process. But it was really the hardest thing to face was figuring out where I was going to end up. And so I had the opportunity to choose 3 different places, and actually 2 were in Albufeira. One was up in the hills, and then one was more in town. And then I was gonna go up to Nazare. Did you go up to Nazare where the big waves are? Kind
No,
of
no, we
kinda
didn't spend a whole we spent most of our time in Spain.
Yeah, I don't blame you, Spain's nice. Yeah, so I was going to go to Nazare for the months 5 and 6 to see what it was like up in northern Portugal, because I'd never been. I didn't know where I wanted to settle. I was pretty sure I wanted to be in the south, but I didn't know. And
Yeah.
when I got here, a few weeks before I was supposed to go up to Nazare, not realizing that Portugal's a pretty big country when you don't have a car. Like I was
Yeah.
thinking I was gonna get on a train with all these suitcases and my coffee maker. No. It would have been a long trip. But I got a message from the Airbnb owner up in Nazare, and he said, "The tenant can't leave. Can you find another Airbnb?" And I freaked out. I was like, "Ah." And fortunately, I did. I found another Airbnb in Olhão, which is a town between where am now and Faro. And it was actually good. It worked out because once I was there, I was more motivated to get my permanent place. And so I could use that as a base and come out and check out apartments here in the East. And I chose the East because there's less wind and it's slightly warmer.
Back to the warm weather. So
The
when
warm
you
weather.
unlike most tourists, when you get to the airport off the plane and you get to border security,
Uh-huh.
scrutinized a lot more because they ask you, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for me, it was the Portuguese border security was great. Once I got past the gate agent at Heathrow, I mean, they honestly thought that I could not go in, and I showed them my visa, which said I was a resident. I said, "I live in Portugal. I have to go home." I'd never been there. I'm just, like, lying at that
Yeah.
point, like, I said, "Here's my residency visa." Like, I knew what I was talking about. I'd never even had a visa before. So
Right.
and they and they said, "Well, what do you do?" And you can't tell people you're a writer because that's like saying you're a hobo. So, like, so I said, "I'm in publishing." And they go, "Oh, well, do you have a card?" And I happen to have a business card that was one of my cheesy business cards that I use for I go to this event called Podfest, and it's very colorful, it's kinda cheesy, but it's on really thick stock, it's a nice card. And the gate agent looks at it and he goes, "Huh," and he's on with his supervisor, and she's got a business card. I'm thinking to myself, I had to put out all this money for a place to live. I had to put out
Right.
all this money for background checks, for the visa, for this, for that, and it's a $21 Vista print card that gets me into the country.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and the Portuguese customs agent, when I came through, I made sure I was the last one because I thought, "Oh, there's gonna be trouble, and they're gonna kick me out, and I don't want anyone to see me get kicked out of Portugal." So, I get to the front of the line, and the very handsome attendant smiles at me, and he looks and he says, "You live in Portugal?" And I said, "I'm moving here now, this is my first time." And he smiles at me, he says, "Welcome to Portugal." And I
Yeah, there you
was like,
go.
"Oh, stamp, stamp, boom."
You're out of there. You're on your way.
He was delightful.
Barbara, what are some of the mistakes new expats make when they move to Portugal?
Oh, yeah. I think well, the first one we talked about, which is trying to explain to people how they should run their country. That's a bad move. One of the things I see is they're not going to go with the culture. They want to rebuild America here. And you can do that. I recommend the gated golf course communities in Villamora if you want to do that in some of the more swanky places. But if you're going to be living anywhere else in Portugal, you need to adjust to the culture and respect the culture. Learning the language is really, really hard, and you need to make an effort to learn at least a little bit of the language and to try to if you start in Portuguese and it sounds horrible, they will switch to English for you, but they're gonna be a lot nicer because you tried it in Portuguese first. You know, they're like I think they're really just sparing their ears like, "Oh, they're gonna mangle our language." So really not expecting America and Portugal is a big thing, not telling people how to run their country, and honestly, it's learning to not have to control everything. It's you have to navigate a lot of unknowns, and you have to be okay with things with just not knowing things. It's a hard thing for a lot of people, but if you think about it, most people navigate life not knowing everything. You can't control everything. So you
Right.
do the best you can with the information you have, and letting go of the idea that you've got to have every last bit of information, because if you need every last bit of information, you're never gonna do it. You're not gonna get every last piece of information.
Now, for those, Barbara, considering moving to Portugal or somewhere else abroad, but
Mhm.
feeling uncertain, what is the one piece of advice that you can give them?
Take a scouting trip first. Don't do what I do, which is just move blind. It worked for me, but I would recommend taking a scouting trip to the country and not doing, the bus tour or just hitting the tourist places. You want to stay for 3 to 4 weeks at least. You want to stay in an Airbnb where you have a washing machine but no dryer, where you have to go to the grocery store to get your food, where sometimes the electricity might go out if there's a storm and you have to go, "Oh, okay, well, it's fine with the circuit breaker boxes." So I would recommend totally trying out the country first. I have friends that were going to move to Costa Rica, which they love. I mean, they've been back and forth to Costa Rica a lot, but where they looked at living in the jungle, they came back and they said, "You know what? Your clothing never dries there." It's humid, it just doesn't dry. We laughed about it, and they might still move to Costa Rica, but they're not gonna move to that particular part of the jungle. So if there's a particular place that you're looking at, you wanna live there for 3 weeks in an apartment, not in a hotel that has, swanky breakfast service.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
you wanna go where
You
you're
get try
gonna
before
live.
you buy.
Yeah, absolutely. Where can people follow your work and connect to you?
Ooh, terrific. Thank you for asking. I am on Substack. My Substack is called My Expat Golden Girl Life, which is about as many keywords as I could stuff into a title. And I write about my expat life there on Substack. And I, of course, have my book. Look, I'll hold it up.
Yeah,
Hey, American Expat Living Abroad Solo After 60. And that is available online at all the purveyors of fine books. So you can find me on Substack. You can find me Amazon, Barnes and Noble, I believe Kobo, those type of.
Amazon, obviously.
Yeah, it's a 800-pound gorilla in books.
Okay, great. We're gonna have all that information in the podcast notes.
Perfect.
So we'll have that all for you.
Thank
Barbara,
you
I
for
want to
asking.
thank you so much for joining us today. Your courage, your honesty, and your willingness to challenge conventional ideas about aging are truly inspiring. Now, your book is a powerful reminder that it's never too late to reinvent yourself, pursue adventure, and live life on your own terms. I appreciate you sharing your journey and insights with us today. And I wish you continued success and fulfillment in all that lies ahead for you. So, once
Thank you
again,
so much,
thank you.
Ron. When you come back to Portugal, you know where to find me, right?
I'm going to look you up because we are going to
Okay.
go back there. And I do have, are you near the Canary Islands?
No, but I'm right near the Spanish border, so
Okay, because we had a Bichon dog and they're from the Canary, they originate in the Canary Islands. And I know they're
and
kind of
and
a
we have,
popular dog in that area. So,
Bichons, and the Portuguese water dog is also a
yeah,
great dog.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, so thank you.
we will definitely be back there. I'll look you
Terrific.
up.
I'd love to meet you in real life.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. Comments and suggestions for the podcast, you can email me at it's a wrap with rap at gmail.com. Our Facebook group, we have a couple thousand people in there. It's a private group. If you want to join, just email me. I'll let you in. Instagram, it's a wrap with rap podcast. We're on X at rapper, WRAPPER 130. We're on most of all the social media outlets across the world. I know we're on Mastodon and just all of them. And our website is it's a wrap with rap. We have a book nook there that has all the books that our author guests have done, and we showcase that on our newsletters as well. And our YouTube, every episode's on YouTube and also on the website. Our YouTube channel is It's a Wrap with Wrap the Podcast Uncut. I want to thank everyone for listening. I want everybody to please stay safe. And for now, it's a wrap.